our next topic is setting up your website structure and measuring your SEO efforts. This is one of those things that I learned a little bit later that I wish I learned ahead of time and implemented or started implementing way earlier. Website structure is very important for search engines like Google. A good website structure will help Google understand your website way better and understand what your website is about. So, you know, in the world of SEO, content is very important when it comes to websites. So you need a lot of content in order to rank highly on search engines like Google. Creating a good and sound structure gives you the ability, or gives the search engines the ability to really understand what your website is about, or give it an easier time understanding what your website is about. So always when you're starting a new website project, the first thing what I would do when I'm starting is create a good and sound structure. It's probably, you know, if you take away anything from this course, I would say, you know, take that away and look to implement it. So I'll show you an example. So as I go through this course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my own Clio websites as an example. I've set it up so that I can show you some of these things, and I'll give you sort of all of the knowledge that I've learned and the strategies that I'm using in order to, you know, improve the ranking of this website. So the first thing when it comes to structure, you don't have to use a tool. You can use a piece of paper. It's totally fine. But, you know, map it out and create your hierarchy. This will help you not only, you know, have a picture in mind of what you want your website to look like, but it'll also help, like I said, search engines understand your content better, or understand what your website is about. And it'll also give you opportunities to apply some good interlinking strategies between these different pages to help you increase your rankings. So, you know, I'm using a tool to do this. You can use a piece of paper, but, you know, it's very critical to, you know, plan this out first. It's going to be very tough trying to rank a website that's, for example, has like, you know, one page, unless it's something that's not competitive at all, and, you know, you can rank easily. But if it's something more complex or something a little bit more competitive when it comes to, depending on your niche, you know, you need to have a sound structure so that you can help search engines understand what your website is about. So you can see, for example, you know, I have my homepage, I have services, I have case studies, contact, about, blog, and then I have all of these kind of services underneath, you know, my service page that explain to Google, you know, what my web design company is about. You know, here are the services. You know, I offer web design, I offer SEO, I offer WordPress development and website maintenance. And underneath all of those services, I have some additional content that, you know, help the search engine understand that this is like, you know, this is SEO, one of my main services. And, you know, how it understands that is by, you know, having some of these other topics that are related to SEO kind of link back to that service, link back to that page, and kind of try to create the structure when you're developing your website. So in terms of, you know, we'll talk about interlinking a little bit as well. It's more of an advanced topic. I'll talk about it towards the end. But, you know, having this structure will go a long way, not only in helping you, you know, design your website, but also helping search engines understand what your website is about. So, you know, this might look fancy in a diagram. This is not a big site. This is a very simple site, very simple architecture. But, you know, when it comes to the actual website itself, what this might look like is, you know, having services, so having a services page, with all our services, and then having a sub page for all of these as as a separate page for that particular service. And then all of the blog posts underneath that, that are linked to that page, and the blog posts then link back to this page. So that's what I talk about when I'm talking about structure. That's probably the first thing you should do is organize that and have it have the structure kind of set up and created before you start anything else, really. This will help you quite a bit. So one of the things that you often learn is you can't improve what you don't measure. So measurement is probably one of the other topics that's very important when it comes to tracking your effort and tracking the effort that you're making and improvements you're making. When it comes to SEO, you want to be able to track whether or not those things are making a difference. My favorite tools for tracking your results is probably Google Search Console. Google Search Console is a must. So if you're looking to track your SEO results, what you want to do is you want to create a new record for your site. So you want to go to like add property. You want to put in the domain for this particular site. And this one is actually a staging website, so it might not work. But let's say it was like cloudways.com. You go continue. It'll try to find it, and then it'll give you instructions on how to add a particular DNS record so that it'll show up in here and be verified. So this is a key step. So you don't have to add anything on your website for this to work. All you have to do is go into wherever your GoDaddy, Namecheap, or whatever domain provider you have, go into this particular domain that you're trying to add. In my case, it's clearwebsites.com. Create a TXT record in your DNS configuration, and add this particular key to your DNS, and give it 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on your provider. Some are quicker than others. Click verify in order to verify that you're the owner of that particular domain. So in my case, I've already done that. So again, this doesn't take long. So if you like, if it's like 10 minutes and it's still not verified, there's probably something wrong. So you have to check your settings. You can also go verify later and verify it after a day or so. Sometimes DNS settings do take a little bit longer, but anyways, once you add it here and verify, you'll be able to get a lot of useful information when it comes to your website. So, this is one of my favorite tools when it comes to SEO. It gives you really good information when it comes to, your performance in terms of how much traffic you're getting. It gives you coverage information in terms of like if you have any errors on your website, technical errors that need to be fixed or whatever, and a lot of different very useful information. Any errors that actually show up when it comes to your website, you'll get alerted, and you'll get and I'm talking about technical kind of SEO or search errors. They'll show up in here and they'll give you an indication. For example, you can see an example here. So it's saying that my video, these are my video schemas. So some of the pages have videos, and it's complaining that I have a missing field or whatever. So things like this. This isn't a serious error, but it'll give you the page where this error is occurring, gives you the opportunity to fix it, and then once you do, you go in here and you say validate fix. It goes through and it fixes your errors. You want to have at least the least number of errors possible when it comes to this, because this is what this is Google's tool, and this is what Google looks at in terms of your overall website performance. So this tool is a must. Another tool that is recommended, it's not required, gives you again more information, is analytics. Analytics is added a little bit differently. You'll have to add a code snippet to your website. I'm going to show you actually how to do that easily using a SEO plugin for WordPress after. But either way, adding a property is fairly easy here as well. And Google Analytics, it's another Google product. It's free. It's really useful if you want to track like your visitors and a whole bunch of other information. They have a lot of useful reports and tracking mechanisms and stuff. Analytics a little bit more heavy. If you're only interested in seeing like how many visitors you're getting and from what pages and whatever, Google Search Console is more than enough. Anyways, I'd recommend Google Search Console as a must. Analytics if you want more information. Analytics is also useful, for example, to track, wrong screen, to track things like paid ads as well and some of the other traffic sources. Google Search Console only tracks organic visitors. This one will give you the breakdown of like, organic, social. So if you're doing social media and people are coming through there, versus paid versus referral traffic versus organic. So it'll give you that breakdown on like, how many visitors you're getting from each of those channels, whereas in Google Search Console doesn't give you that information. It only gives you the organic information. So again, those are really useful tools. You want to hook one of these up. Google Search Console, again, is a must because it'll identify errors as well that you want to fix. And analytics is optional, but you want to hook something up so that you can see how you're doing in terms of if the changes that you're making are actually making a difference when it comes to your website. Yeah, so last thing, so I wanted to go to the takeaways, and it's a good thing that I did. One of the main things you want to do when you're creating when you're working on this stuff is a sitemap's kind of like a must have, and I forgot to mention that actually. So if you're using WordPress, again, like during this course I'm going to use WordPress because that's what I'm familiar with. I think WordPress has some really good advantages when it comes to SEO. I've linked an article to the end of this that talks about why WordPress, in my opinion, is the best for SEO. But you can, all these strategies that I'm showing you, you can do with any technology. You don't have to use WordPress. You use Wix, you use Squarespace, you can use a vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Like all of these apply to all of those different technologies, creating a good sound structure for the website, creating a good architecture, hooking up these tools. All of those work with any technology that you're using. You don't have to use WordPress. In WordPress, it's a little bit easier to set some of these things up. And one of these things is, for example, sitemaps. And I forgot to mention that a sitemap is probably one of the first things you want to do. If you're using WordPress, sitemaps are actually implemented by default in WordPress. If you install a WordPress SEO plugin like RankMath or Yoast, that'll replace the vanilla WordPress sitemap. So you want to, I'll show you where to find it when I go into the SEO plugin a little bit more. But just to show you, one of the main things you want to do when you're setting this up and when you're launching a website is you want to add this particular sitemap to the Google Search Console. And you can see mine's already added for the live site and it's a success. So many URLs it found, and you can actually even see it. Here it'll show you that it's active and that it's good to go. SEO, from an SEO perspective, a sitemap is not a must-have, although it's good practice. I always recommend creating one. Google doesn't need a sitemap for it to crawl your website and to recognize your pages. But I found that by adding a sitemap, my pages that I update or add to my website get picked up a lot quicker when you do have a sitemap. And you can see here it actually gets refreshed a lot quicker, and it causes your pages to be indexed faster on Google, I found from personal experience. So from my perspective, a sitemap is a must, and always add a sitemap when you're starting a new project. So let's just go back to our key takeaways. So again, number one, plan out your structure before designing and coding your website, no matter what technology you're using. This will help Google understand your website better, and it'll really help you gain some results, and a good structure will enable you to build on top of your website and have better results in the long term. Again, like I learned this later in the game, unfortunately. So for example, for my own website, after I started to, after I implemented this, I saw some great results and great improvements when it comes to my SEO. But because I had all these pages and blogs and all this, like everything was all over the place, this wasn't structured the way it should be. It took me a long time to re-architect my site and move everything around, relink everything, and make it more efficient than if I did it from the get-go. So this is a must. Like, do this at the beginning always. And again, setting up tracking tools is great. It'll give you a lot of information when it comes to your website, and it'll actually show you whether or not you're making improvements that matter, and that you're adding things that are making a difference when it comes to your SEO efforts. And last but not least, create a sitemap, submit it to Google. That's also a must. And something I want to mention is a little bit more of an advanced topic. Again, back to the structure, because it's so important. Creating a good structure also enables you to link things more effectively. So this is called interlinking, or creating content silos. This is more advanced. I'm going to attach a resource at the end if you want to learn more about it. Again, it's more of an advanced topic. I would recommend kind of going through the course first, implementing some of these things, learning a little bit more, and then focusing on learning more about these content silos and creating content that helps Google understand your website better, and some good interlinking strategies when it comes to how you link different pages and resources in your website for better search engine ranking. So it's a bit of a more advanced topic, but I'll include a resource at the end to help you get started with that. So that's it for topic number 2, site structure and measurements. Those are the key things you need to know. And yeah, let's move on to the rest of the course.